Rafa really making history. Absolutely phenomenal.
And Ace is the champion of the Intel Extreme Masters World Finals.
Storm's still not quite done. MC is going to take this fight, though. 3 seconds left.
Last 2 rounds of match, it's got to start it well for ESC.
And this is a massive move for Zez, but he's not content with just a Nexus kill. He wants to win.
And it's all done. A flawless win.
Unbelievable Rogue with a 4-0 victory over Classic.
And they did it again in the grand finals. It's Norby!
Give it up for your Intel Extreme Masters World Champion!
And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another IEM Katowice 2024 broadcast. A broadcast of the group stage. I'm, of course, host like VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat, by these amazing players, and my plushies, Papi, my plushies. Welcome, welcome, everyone. It is good to be back, and as I did just mention, we have been going over the IEM Katowice group stage. We started last week. Last week, we went over Group A. And this week we are going over Group B. As a reminder, IEM Katowice was 3 weeks ago at this point, a couple of weeks ago at this point, and it was an amazing event. It was beautiful, it was amazing, and there was a lot going on at the time. A lot of matches going on at the same time, specifically in the group stage. The playoffs, I believe, were all on the main stream, but the group stage, there was a B and C stream as well. And I wasn't able to watch, I couldn't tune into any of it. I couldn't tune into any of it. So we are here to catch up on the matches that we missed out on. We are going to be skipping the matches that were on the main stream, and we're going over the side stream matches instead. And we're covering Group B today. Going over Group B, and we have quite a lot of matches ahead of us. We have Oliveira versus Stats in a TvP. We have a Bunny versus Shin in a Terran versus Zerg. Oliveira versus Bunny, TvT. Kira versus Bunny, and Shin versus Stats. As you can imagine, this is a round-robin stage, a round-robin group. We have Oliveira, Stats, Bunny, Shin, Kira. We have those lovely players ahead of us. They're all going to be facing off against each other over and over again until they all do play against each other at least that one time. And then we, of course, have our players advancing on. We have our players advancing on from there. And I'm excited. I'm excited to bear witness to a lot of these players, especially players like Oliveira and Stats. Unfortunately, when it came to the mainstream, there were a lot of players that we weren't able to feature. Stats is one of them, for example, because he is a bit of a lower rated player currently. He did recently qualify for GSL. We casted him qualify for GSL, that is true, but he was one of the later players to qualify, and I mean, he did make it into IEM Katowice. Like, Stats has been able to prove that he is definitely a player worth paying attention to, but can he still take it to the caliber of players like Oliveira, like Cure, like Bunny, like Shin? That's what we're going to be finding out in GSL. And here, that's what we're going to be finding out here as well. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited. Again, we have 5 best of 3s. We're going to be diving into game 1. We're going to be diving into our first series, Oliveira versus Stats in a TvP on Golden Aura. Let's go. Let us go. Again, for the next 2 days, we're going to be going over the IEM Katowice groups. For those that are maybe curious about the ESL Open Cup Americas, I still have yet to receive those replays. So once we do get them, we will be sorting out and setting up a replay cast, also for ESL Open Cup Americas as well, as that did take place a couple of days ago, like 2 days ago at this point, and we will be jumping on that as soon as we have those replays available. But here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Golden Aura, we have our Chinese Terran player, the reigning world champion, representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, the blue Protoss player himself, currently teamless. It is Stats. Here we go. Again, Oliveira, our reigning world champion, still currently our world champion as well. Did of course come in last year out of nowhere, surprised so many people, including myself. I mean, everyone was in shock to see Oliveira pop off and to see Oliveira become our world champion, become the champion of IEM Katowice 2023. For those that maybe are unaware, IEM Katowice 2024 is no longer the world championship. So technically, Oliveira still has not been dethroned. Technically, he is still our reigning world champion, and still yet to determine who will claim that spot, as the world championship has been moved over to Saudi Arabia, has been moved over to Gamers 8, which has been rebranded as, I believe, the Esports World Cup. I believe it's the Esports World Cup. And they're going to be hosting esports events for many titles like StarCraft and others. I'm not too sure what. I think maybe like Rocket League, maybe CSGO, maybe. Not too familiar with them. But I'm sure other esports are also being held there as well. So there has been a bit of a shake-up in the hierarchy of tournaments and their importance as well. As a result, the season, the year of StarCraft has been extended. It means that we now have a DreamHack Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's a DreamHack Dallas on the horizon. There's also going to be the GSL as well. Just other events to give you the opportunity to gain points, to gain EPT points in the system, to gain a seed into that World Finals. Until then, though, we're getting into our TvP, and again, coming into this Oliveira, there's a lot of expectations on Oliveira to actually perform and truly show us what he's made of. It's been an unfortunate year. It's been a very unfortunate year for Oliveira, not because of his play, but because he hasn't been able to travel. He missed out on a couple of events. He missed out on DreamHack Yongchaping, and he missed out on Home Story Cup. These two events in Europe, unfortunately, Oliveira was not able to get a visa in time. His visa was delayed, or there were just, issues when it came to complications when it came to actually getting it. By the time he got it, it was too late. And in the end, he just wasn't able to travel. He had to give up his seed. He had to give up his spots. And again, we just have seen less Oliveira as a result this year, or last year, I should say. And it's such a shame. I know that Oliveira, he was feeling really demotivated because he couldn't travel, because he was missing out on these big premier events, and that really did slow down a lot of his momentum. But speaking of momentum, it's about to ramp up, because we are going for a very committed mine drop. That is an armory, by the way. It was the double gas opener into a 1-1-1. There is no natural base here for Oliveira. Very committed build, and we are moving out with our Widow Mines. Oh boy, this needs to get damage done. Oliveira committing so hard here to these mines. Back at home, stats opening up with a Twilight Council into Blink. It is going to be a 3-gate Blink opener. 1 gateway is done, 2 gateways are on the way here in the natural base, so we do have an abundance of Stalkers to work with, but how good is our reaction time? That is the question. We casted stats earlier in the GSL qualifiers, and he struggled to keep up with the mine drops as they waddle into the natural base. They drop into the main. Damage is going to be done. He doesn't see the natural. No! Late reaction. Ooh, no retargeting. 4 probes go down for 4 Widow Mines, but detection is required. The Robo is still on the way. Widow Mines, one more does borrow. The other gets focused down, and it looks like they will reset. Again, we have the armory. Detection is needed to deal with this. The Robo is still in production. The Observer is still going to be chronoed out, which means we should get some more shots off. Stats, he does pull away. Up. Does pull away in time. Going to be losing a handful of probes. 4 probes go down. We lose a 5th probe here at the natural. Stats has minimized his losses. We're coming back in. We're coming back in. The medevac goes down, but we're going to get shots off. Oh my god. We got 2 workers in the middle line. We get another worker here towards the left-hand side. We have 1 more shot here at the natural as well. We have not gone off yet. There we go. 9 probes go down. Good damage, but remember, no natural base. Oliveira still needs to expand. He still needs to get back up and running. More shots going off. They don't stop. Oh my god. They do not stop. The Widow Mines just fanning out all over the place. They are spreading out. Stat's going to be able to focus on whatever he can. That's still going to be 12 more dead workers, and we have 3 more shots. Do we have a scan? We do not go for the scan. Observer does live, does survive, and we will clean this up as we come across the final Widow Mine. Oh. to avoid the shot, and I believe that's going to be, yeah, all of them cleaned up. We see Stats just double checking the corners of his base, making sure he didn't miss anything, and back at home, Oliveira is expanding. Now, as the dust does settle, fun fact, Stats is still ahead in probes. He's still ahead in workers. He still has his 3 gates set up. He can go for an expansion from here on. And Oliveira is getting into his 3-1-1 setup. Again, I think I want to give the edge to Stats in this position. Like, he's still got a decent worker count, lacking saturation in the main, but we're working on it. Oliveira, though, he is pushing. He doesn't want to allow Stats to recover. Stats has a good worker count, but what about the army? That's the thing. We're spending resources on probes, not on units, and as a result, Oliveira, he can still go for the kill. He is moving out. Stalkers, they do chip away at those Marines. They get 1, they get 2. 2 Marines do go down. Oliveira leapfrogging forward, does siege up. Does manage to get within range. Gateway is going to be going down. We do have another gateway explosion in the main base, but it's still in production. We dive on top of the tank. The first tank goes down. Good pick up. A good start here to the defense of Stats, but there's still 1 more tank behind this, and we're going for the other gateway. Yeah, the gateway will fall. 2 gates get picked up. Overcharge was spent. Stats trying to force his way in, but alas, Oliveira, he reinforces with another tank. He's breaking into the natural, depowers the robo. GG gets called, and Oliveira, he comes in, and he does take game number 1. Whew. GG. Again, the Widowmine drops were brutal. Specifically, the delayed robo was brutal. Because that delayed observer, we had so many probes going down, so many shots going off in favor of Oliveira. Even though Stats was able to recover, Oliveira, very smart, very wise move to, in the follow-up, in the aftermath of the mine drop, to go in with a double tank drop, sorry, a double tank push, just to capitalize on the damage that was dealt and make sure that Stats did not recover from said damage. GG. GG, well played. Oliveira does kick things off with a win. We'll see if he can keep it up, though, because we are getting ready for game number 2. We're diving into Oceanborn. Let's go. Let us go. As spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have our South Korean Protoss player. The blue Protoss representing himself down in this series, looking to fight back, looking to redeem himself. Can we force that ace match? The pressure is on. It is Stats. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Chinese Terran player, the red Terran representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Also, I see in the chats, Furajin saying Oliveira got lucky. I don't think that's a very apt way of putting Oliveira's run in IEM Katowice. Maybe you didn't watch it, maybe you don't watch much StarCraft, it's possible. But saying that his run was lucky is, yeah, I don't think that's accurate whatsoever. At the time, Oliveira, he was the better player. Again, he put in a lot of work coming into it as well. And yeah, even in the follow-up, again, if you don't watch much StarCraft, then you wouldn't know. But right after his run in IEM Katowice, he also competed in World Team League, if you were watching. It was WTL, it was the winter season of 2022, right after the IEM Katowice Championship. And Oliveira carried hard, and he took down some big names there as well. He knocked everyone down. He was basically carrying his team the entire way there in WTL, and it was in the finals where Oliveira did falter, but he said himself that he was tired out. Like, he was playing such an intense weekend of StarCraft that weekend of WTL, and did end up falling in the finals. But he looked damn impressive there as well. So yeah, it showed that, again, like, it wasn't just like a one event sort of thing. Like, no, in that time period, like, he was the best. I think even Maru said so as well. So yeah, again, luck, I don't think really has much to do with it. Well, maybe a little bit, in the sense that, like, I guess lucky that he had peaked in that moment. but that was on him. And saying he was lucky as well is just a disservice to the opponents that he beat and to all the other players there as well. It's like saying, oh, you know, it's lucky that they're bad. Like, what? So yeah, I'm not on board with that. As behind this, we're going for a double gas opener once again. Oliveira opening up double gas into his CC. As we do have a gate expand here from Stats. Here we go. Exclamation mark frozen. Exactly. Let's go. Not frozen. Exclamation mark frozen. As we're getting into it. But again, a big reason as to why Oliveira... This is also why I tried to emphasize the fact that Oliveira, his quote-unquote underperformance, I wouldn't even call it underperformance in 2023, but his lack of performance was because of... I mean, he couldn't compete. Like, he couldn't be there at DreamHack Young Shipping. He couldn't be there at Home Circuit Cup. So it's such a shame that the premier events just, like... preceding, like right after IEM Katowice that took place, he just wasn't able to take part in, and it felt so wrong at the time. Like, that's why there was a lot of talk about how like it was such a shame that he wasn't able to partake in those events right after that win, again because of visa issues. And on top of that, I did also mention that did demotivate him, like knowing and finding out that he couldn't play in these events. He did speak out saying that like he was playing less as a result. Like, he was like what am I playing for if I can't even travel to these tournaments? Like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, that was sad. But regardless, you know, thankfully he's here in Poland in IEM. Opening up with a double cyclone drop. Opening up double cyclone, getting across the map, is going to be able to pick off both of those stalkers. Very nicely done. Two stalkers will be going down at the same time. Reaper does poke in towards the natural base. Talking about the openers here, once again the same build from Stats. Stats, he opened up gate expand into a triple gate opener here, or triple gate blink. So 3-gate blink does mean that Stats can apply pressure. He should be expanding behind this. He should be taking his third base. This is not an all-in by any means, just a safe way to open up to gain map control to eventually get into a more economic follow-up. Meanwhile, back at home, Oliveira going for his own 3-rack setup, getting into his 3-1-1, earlier tank production as well. Looking at his vision, Oliveira, he did confirm the tech, he confirmed the gateway count, so he knows that stalkers are coming. He's fully aware that stalkers are coming, which is why we're getting into tank production. He's getting in position. We have Marines and Cyclones in the main base. We have a bunker and a tank here at the natural. We are ready for the eventual counterattack. So a good read here by Oliveira. Doesn't deal as much damage as he would have liked. Looking at the units tab, he got 2 stalkers, which is good, but he wanted economic damage. As here we go, Prism comes in. Oh, these Cyclones moved out. Uh-oh. Cyclones did move out. SCVs are going to be going down. Oliveira, he was in position, but he's sending everything across the map. Damage is being done. SCVs are going to be going down. Oliveira, this push suddenly much more committed. Much more committed here as we are getting quite a bit done. We get 9, 10 SCV kills. Getting up to 11. Voids are being pulled. Reinforcements have to deal with this. And Oliveira, he's becoming more and more all in. Now, this push had a lot of success in game 1. Liberator does try to meet up with the army, but it is barely going to go down. Good targeting there by Stats. Meanwhile, across the map, he saw as the Stalkers active, killed 15 SCVs. And he's not stopping. Meanwhile, we do manage to get a couple of these gateways. 2 gates full. We have 3 gates in the main. Very similar build here. Very similar playstyle here out of Stats. Not going to lie. As he dives on forward, blinks on forward, takes down the tank, overcharges home. This time we held on to it. This time we saved the overcharge for the fight. And can we barely get the last tank? It looks like, oh, we can. We barely do get it. Second tank goes down. And we've lost 23 SCVs across the map. Again, Oliveira completely all in, and he is not breaking through. He's killing some of the Stalkers, though. He is almost breaking through. Reinforcements have arrived. He has the tank. Oh. Does reinforce with the tank. He will depower the robo. So there's still 3 gateways up and running here in the main. Soon to be 5. Stalker still across the map. And Stats, he's just buying time here, waiting for more reinforcements. Boys are being pulled. Stalkers, they blink on top of the tank once again. And stats, oh god. We'll be bleeding out a lot of Stalkers. Good target firing here out of Oliveira. Very nice target firing, actually. Stim is still finishing up in a couple of seconds. There we go. Stim is done. We start a step forward. We focus down another two of those Stalkers. Another third Stalker as well. But it's a numbers game when we're running out of Marines. We're running out of reinforcements. GG gets called as we run out of steam. And Stats ties up the series 1-1. GG. GG, well played. And with that, we are going to the ace match. We're going to be going all the way into game number 3 here. Again, very similar play. Oh, the same build, actually. The same build from Stats 2 games in a row. This time, though, he was a lot more attentive when it came to when and where he did use the overcharge. He, of course, did a great job at harassing across the map. Oliveira, he had a choice to make. He had a choice. He could either turn back around, deal with the drop, deal with the Stalkers, or commit. And did decide to commit. He didn't really think that, of course, the drop would deal as much damage as it did. It did force the all-in. It killed, what was that, 40 SCVs? Maybe even more than that. Did an insane amount of damage, and just did force the all-in, did cripple Oliveira, and now we find ourselves in game 3. Let's go. Let us go. Here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner. In the top left-hand corner of Site Delta, we have our South Korean Protoss. South Korean Protoss player representing himself, tying up the series though, 1-1, forcing the ace match. Putting a point on the board. Can he go all the way? Can he go the distance? It is Stats. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran player, the reigning world champion representing CranKy Gaming, being forced into the ace match. It is Oliveira. See in the chat for Rajin, and I haven't seen him perform anywhere near that level before and after that. That's why I said that it's possible that you just don't watch enough events. That's also why I brought up WTL World Team League, which is where he did perform at that level. That's also why I did mention that you didn't see him perform afterwards, because again, he couldn't compete in DreamHack Young Shipping, and he couldn't compete in Home Story Cup either. That's why I brought up those 3 things to, again, show that, or to try to express and emphasize the fact that we didn't get a chance to see him after that, which is why it was a shame, which is why 2023 was quite smudge in that respect. Quite sad or quite, yeah, a rough year for Oliveira after that IEM. But here we go. We're getting into the ace match. We're getting into game number 3. And for the time being, once again, standard openers. I wouldn't be surprised if Stats goes for a 3-gate blink again, just because he's done it every game so far. Every game without fail, 3-gate blink from Stats. Will he go for it in game number 3? Meanwhile, across the map, we do have a Rax Expand here from Oliveira. Is going to be mixing it up, going for a much more economic opener, which I do appreciate on Site Delta. We speak about this all the time, but specifically on this map, there is a ramp coming into the natural. We do have a much more defensive position here, so these more economic openers are more standard and more commonplace on Site Delta. Reaper does get across the map, does confirm the standard opener at least, is going to keep tabs on this Stalker. And behind this, we are not getting into a 3-Rax, which is viable here. Oh, the positioning, ooh, not quite, as Stats was not able to look in. That Reaper does barely escape. There was an opportunity there. That's what's terrifying about this Reaper cliff, is that it is such a narrow entry point, and you can block it off here. At the entrance, at the gas geyser. So it can be quite risky to go in with the Reaper. Not punished though. Oliveira does escape. And behind this is going for a Twilight Council. Stats is Twilight Council Opener, not a Stargate. Once again, it's going to be Blink, and we'll keep an eye on how many gateways get thrown down. So far, we have one gateway done. Second gateway is on the way. We'll see if we throw down third. Meanwhile, across the map, we do have a bit of a different opener. We're setting up with a bit of a 2-on-1. We do have Widowmines here for drop play. We've seen Widowmines be the bane of stats quite a number of times in Game 1 and even in the GSL qualifiers as well. So we'll see how Oliveira is able to make use of it. I'm curious if he's going to go for a Widowmine Marine drop. That is a build that, or that is a variation that Maru and Bjorn have been mixing around. Have been playing with. And I wonder if Oliveira will embrace that as well. As it's only going to be the Widowmines. Does keep the Marines back at home. And Stats does mix it up. Here we go. It is going to be a 2-gate Blink opener into a third. We spoke about how Site Delta can be much more of an economic map just because of the defensive features, and we're seeing that come into play here for Stats as well. This time, for the first time, not going for a third gateway. Delays his production, delays his warp-ins in favor of a faster third Nexus. So much more economic. Much more economic out of Stats. Oliveira is ready to drop into that main. Meanwhile, behind this, getting towards Stim, into +1. Nothing too crazy. Do have our soon to be, actually not quite add-on swap here. We're not getting into early tanks. Interesting choice out of Oliveira. This time going to be avoiding those tanks, going for a bio-heavy composition instead. I mean, it makes sense, considering that we did scout the third. So there's no need for tanks. Typically, they're required if you're up against 3-gate or 4-gate Blink Stalker, but in a longer game, you don't have to rely on them anywhere near as much. Stats with high ground vision. Does see the army, so we shouldn't commit to the Blink. There we go. He had the option. He had the option to dive into the main, but does respect the army of Oliveira. Does pull back. Pull back. Behind this, third base is getting fully saturated. We have our gateway explosion. Charge is finishing up. We are getting into 8-gate charge here on 3 bases. Quite committed from Stats. Like, Stats, he had the option. He had the option if he wanted to throw down a Bay and to get into Colossus. Could have gone towards Robo production, towards Colossus, into Disruptors. But no, Stats is going for a very gateway heavy composition. Going for a Swarm Toss style. Now, this style from Stats is ideal if your opponent is pushing into you. If Oliveira does push out, does move out, and as a result won't have any SimCity to work with, then Zelds can have their way with this bio army. Depending on how many Zelds there are. As Oliveira is pushing, Stats trying to keep up. Oliveira does end up distracting Stats here. Good reaction though. Mine shots should not go up. Up! That's way too soon. One mine shot does connect with the army. Oliveira rotating around. Looking for a way in. There's the bay that we spoke about. We should soon be working towards Colossus. Oliveira does see this, is aware. Did spot it with a mine drop. Speaking of, another mine drop coming in. Stats did see. Is getting ready with his Stalkers. And Oliveira now works towards his third. So he's not committed, he's not all in. Is being very active with his army, but let's see if he's able to find his opponent off guard, or catch his opponent off guard. Does get the sentry, gets Zelts as well. The Colossus aren't ready yet, by the way. Stats is in trouble. Stats, he doesn't have much to work with. He has Stalkers, Overcharge is popped. Mine shots go off here on the Zealots. And Oliveira, he just stutter step forward, focus down the Stalkers one after the other. And there's nothing here. Again, the delayed Colossus production not paying off for Stats. Not enough Zealots either. And we have broken the main army. Yeah, Oliveira just going to town on this. Boys are being pulled. Oh, and that's going to be 18, 20 probes going down. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. As even though Oliveira is being cleaned up, it doesn't even matter. 20 workers have fallen. Does reinforce with a couple of units here. A couple of Marauders, a couple of Marines. Is being forced back. But the damage was done. There is no fourth base here for stats. So Oliveira getting ahead in the economy, taking his own third, getting it saturated. Stats now popping out with his Colossus, but again, it's too little too late. What he was lacking there especially were his Zealots. I don't know if we were missing Warpins there for stats, but again, to invest that hard into charge, to delay your Colossus production for that long, we do need a wave of Zealots here to defend, to deal with the Bio Army, and we just didn't have it. Mainly had Stalkers, and we saw how vulnerable they were. Expensive losses, 18 Stalkers going down. With that, Oliveira, he's fine to just back off for now. Regroup, resaturate his third. And then consolidate his army. Now getting into Ghost production, into Vikings. Remember, he already scouted the Bay. He's already fully aware of the Colossus. And he's getting ready for it. He is getting ready for it. Meanwhile, stats, he's still recovering his economy. Still no fourth base. Working towards Storm. Storm is a nice way to come back. Depending on the placement of the storms, stats, he can pop off, he can deal with an army. This is something that we saw, that we did notice during the GSL qualifiers, is that stats, even though he would have a hard time keeping up with drop play, his army control, that was on par with the best. We saw stats carry him quite a lot. It was the saving grace of stats in yesterday's broadcast. EMP is going to be going up. And big EMPs here on the army. Do we have any High Templar? We do not. I mean, Storm is still not quite done. Oliveira will pull back. Scans, sees the Colossus. Respects it. Does he see the researching Twilight Council? He did not. Didn't see the Twilight Council. Didn't see it researching. I mean, still has Ghosts. So he has an answer to the High Templar. Oliveira is still just looking for a way in. Scans, he sees the fourth base, sees that it's still halfway done. Meanwhile, we can see that Oliveira, he's just getting further and further ahead in the economy. After the damage that he dealt, he had already taken a lead, and he's extending that lead. He's up in SCVs, up in workers, up in mining, and as a result, up in army. Oh my god, massive EMPs on everything! Oh my god, we blanket the entire army here of stats. He still has storms! It's the only thing he has left. Big storms here on the Vikings. When the Colossus go down, oh my, we still had another storm left over for the Bio Army as well. But Oliveira, he just takes the storms to the face. It doesn't even matter. Stims on forward. Oh, final storm here on the Marauders. Jesus. Stats had so many. He had so many storms. EMPs connect. No more High Templar. We're running out of storms. That's all we had. And Oliveira is now able to stim on forward, break through the Stalkers. GG gets called, and Oliveira will take the series 2-1. GG. GG, well played, Oliveira. Coming out swinging here. A big shout out to Stats for taking game number 2. You could make an argument that game number 2 was a little bit more on Oliveira. If you remember, he chose to ignore the Prism, he chose to ignore the Stalkers, and to commit across the map on Oceanborn, which led to his demise. That is true, but Oliveira was able to tighten things up here in game number 3 in the rest of this series and take down Stats. Against Stats, he did end up having a really rough showing at IEM, but it was really impressive nonetheless that he qualified for the event itself, and impressive that he was able to at least force Oliveira to the ace match here, as Oliveira has, again, a lot to make up for from the year of 2023, and does come out here with a win. GG. GG, well played. I don't know if Stats, I could be mistaken, I don't know if Stats ever got to, play on the mainstream. I don't quite remember. It's a shame if he didn't. I know there are some players that didn't get to play on the mainstream, which is a bit of a shame. Like that's a bit of quite a feat to be able to play in front of a crowd and to be able to compete in front of so many different people. I don't think Cyan got to play on the mainstream. I know a lot of his matches were missed, but yeah, I hope Stats was able to. GG, well played. With that, we have our first series in the books, and now we're getting ready for game number 2. Gonna be Bunny versus Shin. Our second series of the night. One that I'm excited for. This is a little bit bittersweet. These are teammates, of course. For those who maybe weren't around back in Heart of the Swarm, Bunny and Shin are actually good friends. They're ex-teammates. They were on CJ Entus, and I know that being an ex-teammate may not mean much. Like, it's like, oh, you know, they were on the same team, cool, they competed for the same sponsor or whatever. But especially when it came to the Koreans, like, if you're a teammate, like, you lived together, you know, you were in a team house together, especially with these old Kespa teams like KT, SKT, CJ, Jin Air. And we've seen that even nowadays. If you follow Shin, for example, or Hero on Instagram, you'd see that pretty relatively frequently, like, you know, every couple of months, like, they all go out, they all eat together. I'm talking about like Bunny, Shin, Hero, and others from back in the day, and it's really cool to see. I bring this up because it was actually posted like 2 days ago. They actually went out to eat as well. So they're still good friends, they still hang out. Even now, like, Shin and Bunny technically representing the same team on Mystery Gaming. And now they have to face off against each other here at IEM many years later. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I'm excited. Always for a good TVZ.